This Dr. Nicole Says episode is about the recent CDC study examining mistreatment and discrimination in birth. Welcome to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins, a board-certified OBGYN who's been in practice for nearly 15 years. I've had the privilege of helping over 1,000 babies into this world, and I'm here to help you be calm, confident, and empowered to have a beautiful pregnancy and birth. Quick note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Check out the full disclaimer at drnicolerankins.com/disclaimer. Now let's get to it. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a returning listener, I'm so glad you're spending some of your time with me today. In today's episode, I'm going to break down the recent CDC study that examined mistreatment and discrimination in birth. It's called Vital Signs Maternity Care Experiences, United States, April 2023. And we are just going to hop right into it. So, the reason that they did this study is because maternal deaths increased in the United States between 2018 and 2021, with, of course, documented racial disparities. And we know that respectful maternity care, that is preventing mistreatment, communicating effectively, providing care equitably, can be integrated into strategies that aim to improve quality of care and reduce pregnancy-related deaths. That's taken straight from the study. So we know that 80% of maternal deaths are preventable. And again, respectful maternity care is an important part of reducing that. And you're going to find some unfortunate information or data about maternity care in this study, but also some puzzling little quirks. I'm going to talk about those too. So the CDC analyzed data from, it's called the PN View Moms Survey. And I believe PN stands for Porter Novelli. That's the company that administered this survey. And they wanted to examine 3 components of respectful care. So the first component was experiences of mistreatment, and that's violations of physical privacy, ignoring requests for help, or verbal abuse. The second component was discrimination, and that was discrimination because of race, ethnicity, age, or weight. And then number 3 was evaluating reasons for holding back from communicating questions or concerns during maternity care. Now, the option to complete this survey was shared online with 7,607 panel members, and about 2,407 or 32% of mothers responded. It wasn't clear where exactly they found these panel members. That was a little bit tricky to dig out, but it was offered to 7,600, 2,400 responded, 32%. The survey was administered in English, and it was administered between April 24th and April 30th, 2023. Now, respondents were asked to comment on their maternity care experiences during pregnancy or delivery of their youngest child only. Okay, so their youngest child only. And this is important. Nearly 2/3, 65.5%, reported that their youngest child was greater than 5 years old. Okay. And that's one of the things that I'll talk about a little bit later. One of the limitations of the study potentially is that everybody was reporting on experiences from over 5 years ago. Now, in terms of who responded, about 70% were white, 11% were Black, 10% Hispanic, 5% Asian. More than half of the respondents, about 56%, had private insurance, and 32% had Medicaid, and then the rest were uninsured. So let's get into the results of this study. So we're going to break it down by the results on mistreatment, the results on discrimination, and then the results on questions. Okay, so let's start with mistreatment. So about 1 in 5, 20% of respondents reported experiencing at least one type of mistreatment. Now, the most commonly reported mistreatment was being ignored by healthcare providers, having requests for help refused or not responded to. That was 9.7%. The second highest was being shouted at or scolded by healthcare providers. That was 6.7%. The third was having their physical privacy violated at 5.1%. And then fourth was being threatened with withholding of treatment or being forced to accept treatment that they did not want. That's 4.6%. Now, Black, Hispanic, and multiracial respondents reported higher prevalences of mistreatment. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anyone. And then those with no insurance or public insurance, Medicaid, reported higher rates. So 28% of respondents said that they were mistreated. 28% of respondents with no insurance, said they were mistreated. And then 26% of those with Medicaid said they were mistreated, compared to 20% overall. Now, interestingly, 75% of those who reported any mistreatment also said that they were satisfied with the care they received during pregnancy. Okay. So despite reporting mistreatment, 75% of those still said they were satisfied with their care. And I'm going to talk about why I think that is towards the end. So when we look at discrimination, that's the second category. 28.9% reported experiencing at least one form of discrimination during maternity care. The highest prevalence was reported by Black folks, Black women. About 40% reported experiencing at least one form of discrimination. And that was followed by multiracial people. 39% of them said they experienced discrimination, and Hispanics reported 36% of Hispanic women reported experiencing discrimination. That's compared with 26% of white women reporting experiencing discrimination. Okay. Now, the most commonly reported reason for discrimination, interestingly, was age, and that was 10%, followed by weight at 9.7% and income 6.5%. And they looked at a lot of different factors like race, disability, immigration status, age, weight, income, sexual orientation, religion, language, accent, health insurance, a difference in opinion with my caregivers about the right care for myself or my baby, using any substances, involvement with the justice system. So they tried to look at a lot of different reasons why people might be discriminated against. And again, the top reasons were age, weight, and income. Now, that did vary a bit by race and ethnicity. Among Black women, the most common reasons were weight, race, and then age. Okay, so weight, race, and then age. Among Hispanic respondents, the most common reasons were age, weight, and then income. And then similarly, among white respondents, the most common reasons were age, weight, and income. Okay. Kiwico Panda Crate is a bi-monthly subscription for babies ages 0 to 24 months. They are perfect for brain-building play and fun. Kiwico baby products are made with care. They are free of BPA, free of lead, and they use only non-toxic water-based paints and finishes. And y'all, these crates are so freaking adorable. The Bond With Me Panda Crate comes with a tummy time mirror that can be used in multiple different ways. There are these really cool black and white high contrast image cards that support baby's visual development. There's a super cute milestone pillow and cards to track your baby's milestones, plus other at-home activities to connect and bond with your baby. And y'all, these crates ain't just cute, okay? They also support your baby's rapid development in the first 2 years of life with science-backed products that support child-led play and encourage open-ended exploration. Each Kiwico Panda Crate includes age-specific products that are designed by experts and backed by research. I would have loved to have something like this for my babies. Unlock brain-building play with Kiwico Panda Crate. Get 50% off your first month with code Dr. Nicole at kiwico.com/panda. That's 50% off your first month at kiwico.com/panda, promo code Dr. Nicole. All right. Now, when we look at holding back questions, and this is the one that was like, oh my God, hit me in my chest, about 1/2 or 44.7% of all the respondents reported holding back from asking questions or discussing concerns with their provider during maternity care. 44.7%. That is almost half. And the most common reasons were thinking that what they were feeling was normal. 28.8% didn't ask because they thought what they were feeling was normal. 21.5% didn't ask because they felt embarrassed or didn't want to make a big deal about something. 21% didn't ask because they had someone close to them say it was normal. And then 20.7% didn't ask because they were worried that their maternity care provider might think that they were being difficult. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Now, a few of the limitations of the study. One is that it was opt-in. So it may be that people who were more interested in reporting their experiences were more likely to opt into the study. Okay. And it didn't use some sampling techniques and fancy statistical things. So it's believed that the data is likely not representative of the U.S. birthing population. All right. So not an adequate representation of the U.S. birthing population. Second, only about less than 50% of people who were offered the study responded. There is some response bias, again, meaning that people are going to respond if it's a topic that's important to them. If people didn't feel that they were mistreated, maybe they didn't feel like they needed to respond to the study. Okay. Also, the experiences were self-reported. So we do have to take that into account, that these are not things that were witnessed. These are people's self-reports. Although I will die on the hill that what people report as their experience is very important, even if we can't necessarily have a camera there to see it. Of course, it's very important. Another limitation is that maternity care was only evaluated for the youngest child, and it may have been different for the other births or if there were other pregnancy outcomes. Okay, so it was only evaluated for the youngest child, only for one child. And then the last one that I mentioned is that it was most of the people had children that were older than five. Okay. So the responses are subject to recall bias. Maybe they have forgotten things. Maybe it may not represent a more recent reflection of what maternity care is like in the United States. Oh, and then one more limitation. It was only administered in English, so it doesn't include experiences of people who are not fluent in English. All right. Now, here are my thoughts on this study and the results. Okay. As I said, even though 20% reported some mistreatment and 28.9% reported experiencing some form of discrimination, that's the overall numbers. Interestingly, when you look overall, and this is across all racial and ethnic groups, 90% of respondents still reported that they were satisfied with the care that they received during their pregnancy. So on the one hand, we have 90% of people saying that they were satisfied with their care, but also 28%, almost 30% saying that they had discrimination, another 20% saying that they were mistreated. So why are we having that both, those things both in the same bucket? All right. And here's why I think that is. Two reasons. Number one, I believe some people may just be accustomed to or expect to have some form of poor treatment as a normal part of maternity care. I think that to some degree we have normalized the expectation that there are going to be challenges with maternity care in the United States. That makes me sad, but I think that may be part of the reality. And then number two is that the experiences of discrimination and mistreatment may have been isolated encounters. Okay. So it's like one nurse in the office or one doctor that you saw for an appointment in a big group practice, or when you went to the hospital to get evaluated for something and one particular person didn't treat you well. All right. Or you felt you were discriminated against. So it's not that the entire system overall was discriminatory or a problem. It was isolated incidents. And then overall, people felt like their care was good. I think that may be what's happening. And I think that that's a reflection, an accurate reflection of what maternal care in the U.S. is like. There's actually still a high likelihood that you will be satisfied with your care overall, okay, that you'll be satisfied with the care you received, but there's still a good chance that you will experience negative aspects. And that negative aspects, or how prominent those negative aspects, will vary. It will vary from being disrespected by one nurse in an office visit all the way to like a complete S show during the whole pregnancy or birth experience. Okay. So how much negativity you experience will vary, because there are still some bad apples within our U.S. maternal care system. That's why I do the work that I do. Now, the way to weed out those bad apples leads me to my second comment, which is about the asking questions. The fact that 44% of all respondents reported holding back from asking questions or discussing concerns is a problem. And the most common reasons, or one of the most common reasons, being that 20% felt embarrassed, not wanting to make a big deal, or worried that their maternity care provider may think that they were being difficult. I want you to throw that mind trash out right now. Right now. Do not feel embarrassed about asking questions. You are not making a big deal if you are asking questions. And if your maternity care provider thinks that you're being difficult if you ask questions, then you need to find a different doctor or midwife. Toss that mind trash out about asking questions, because asking questions is exactly how you are going to know whether or not you have a care team that is on your side. Now, you want to be asking your questions from an informed place so you can go in and get the most of the questions, get the most of the time that you have. So continue to educate yourself through this podcast, through other podcasts, read books, educate yourself, follow reliable accounts on social media. I also post information on Instagram at Dr. Nicole Rankins, but there are, of course, other accounts. And then for the love of God, take a childbirth education class, or for the love of whatever it is you believe in, take a childbirth education class, please, 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 so that you can ask questions from an informed place. There are options out there. Of course, I have the birth preparation course, but there are a lot of options out there. Find something that works for you, but do ask those questions. Educate yourself so that you're asking from an informed place. Okay, so there you have it for this short Dr. Nicole Says episode. Share this with a friend. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to me right now. Leave me an honest review in Apple Podcast, or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Nicole Rankins. I love to hear what you think about the show. Love to hear any new show ideas. All right, so that's it for this episode. Do come on back next week, and remember that you deserve a beautiful pregnancy and birth.